Hey y'all, hi. So I've been thinking about my relationship with shopping, reflecting on the past 6 years since I started my no-buy at the beginning of 2018, and checking in and really asking myself how things are going now. And the answer is not bad, but also not necessarily what I would call great. And also a lot has changed since the beginning of this journey. I think I do need to take myself in hand once again with a structured project, a set of guidelines that will help me grow in a healthy direction in the new year. But I've realized that it's going to look pretty different this year than it's ever looked in the past. So I'm here to tell you about that today. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, then hi, my name is Hannah. I did a no-buy year way back in 2018, and that was my first year on YouTube. So that no-buy project is recorded. It's in the history of my channel, and there's a playlist that you can click on where you can watch every video from that year all the way through in order. So I'll link that down below. There's also a playlist of videos that are reflections on the no-buy year. There are a bunch of ways that I've organized that no-buy content so you can kind of consume it all at once or consume important parts of it all at once. All of that will be linked down below. If this is a topic of interest to you and you aren't caught up or you haven't been here before, check the description box. So after the no-buy year in 2019, I went on a strict budget and I recorded that. It was my first time successfully budgeting in my life. And since then, I've been moderating and modulating. I've been making pretty much regular fashion, beauty, and lifestyle content here on my channel, which I love making. These old questions always underlie that content. I'm always returning back to these old familiar questions over and over again. It makes me think about this reel. My friend, my wonderful old friend and mentor and general guide to the inner life, Julia Frodal, recently posted a reel on her Instagram account about how the Buddhists teach that we learn in a spiral. So it's like the path of growth is a path around and up a mountain, because going in a straight line from the base of the mountain to the peak would be too hard, like too steep of a path and too fast. But what that means is that spiraling around the mountain as you grow as a person, you always come back to the same spot over and over again as you grow. So it's like you, time after time, pass through the same terrain, the same patch on the mountainside. Just each time you pass through it, you're a little bit further along, like a little bit higher up, and then you pass it, and then somewhere down the path you encounter it again, right? The same questions, the same challenges again as a slightly more evolved version of yourself. I love this concept so much. And of course, I'll link the reel. I'm not really doing it justice. I'll link the reel below and link Julia. Of course, she does amazing work. But I brought it up because that concept is really ringing true to me here at the beginning of this year. I'm negotiating shopping once again, and some things are the same, but a lot of things are different. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. So, checking in with myself, this was the first thought that I encountered. I'm not happy with the amount of time that I'm spending looking at my screens in what I would call a shopping way. Minimizing screen time in general is one of the ways that I return to health when I feel I need to return to health. And online browsing, or, looking at screens in a shopping way, is a major contributor to my overall screen time. Checking in with myself, I see that, especially over the past handful of months, I've been going back to it over and over again to procrastinate, to self-soothe, to block out the troubling world, to have a temporary reprieve from the weight of the world. Sometimes it's idle scrolling, but a lot of times it's searching, like the long multi-phase, multi-week, multi-search sessions process that was my search for the perfect winter parka that was unfolding over the month of December. So what I call shopping behaviors, not necessarily buying stuff, but shopping behaviors, that's always been part of the problem. Those behaviors have always been part of the problem. And I knew that back at the beginning. I was talking about this distinction, the distinction between spending and doing stuff in a shopping way. I was talking about it all the way back at the beginning of my no-buy year, at least during that year. But for a long time, shopping behaviors have been distinct from, but also intertwined with other issues like overspending money, over acquiring stuff, like the feeling of needing more and more stuff, and then the feeling of being overwhelmed with way too much stuff because of having tried to fill some hole or soothe some wound with stuff. So I've been chipping away at all of these intertwined facets of compulsive shopping over the years. And where I find myself today is here. I'll tell you. Space is no longer the issue. I have gotten myself to a point where I'm so much better at prioritizing quality over quantity and really truly choosing fewer, nicer things. I've become so much more discerning and so much more resistant to following through with the allure of any given purchase. And it's my craving for space, for fewer things, that has brought me here. I'm very protective of the open spaces in my drawers, and my shift towards a more minimalist fashion style has actually narrowed my choices significantly in the field of clothes shopping and really lessened my desires in a way. I genuinely want less, and it's become easier to act on that desire, which is to say to not act by not buying the thing most of the time. I do buy things, as you know, but they tend to be fewer, nicer things, so space is no longer the issue. Money is no longer really the issue either. It's not as though I've become wealthy or something, and I still absolutely have to keep an eagle eye on my bank account and pay close attention to what I'm spending. I mean, I think that's normal to have to do that, and I will have to do that for the rest of my life. But it's not hard to do that like it used to be. If I can't afford something, I don't buy it, and it doesn't hurt like it used to. And I don't have this kind of willful blindness to the fact that I can't buy a thing at any given time that I used to have. If we have a few low-earning months, which we do from time to time over the course of the year, and there just isn't as much or isn't any spending money coming into my bank account, and I have to tighten the purse strings, I just tighten them. And at the same time, our business is doing better than it was before. So I'm sometimes able to afford even nicer things than I ever was able to afford before. And some of the things that I particularly like to buy, makeup and clothes, are coming into my life because of PR relationships with brands, and because part of running this business sometimes involves acquiring things for the purpose of review. So all of these factors are combining, and it's not as hard as it used to be for me to keep from endangering my financial health. Again, I still have to be mindful, and we still go through dry spells because of the way that income fluctuates in the job that I do, but overall, it has become much, much easier. So space isn't the issue, and money isn't the issue. The issue, my friends, is time. I'm simply spending too much of my time, like too large a percentage of my time, browsing online and looking for the right thing, the perfect thing, the next newest best thing, looking for something to want, even if I don't end up buying the thing that I've looked for to want, which most of the time is what happens. Most of the time I don't buy the thing. My reflections coming into this year have led me to the surprising realization that I've shed most of the formerly problematic aspects of compulsive shopping. And what remains is the screen, the search, the scrolling, reading reviews, comparison shopping just for the fun of it, the research, if you will. And it's taking up too much of my time. Now, I'm going to speak briefly about having had a baby, just to let you know. It is not the topic of this video, and it is not the reason why this is happening, but it is relevant because the thing that has really forced the issue of how I spend my time is the significant effect on my schedule of having a child. So say I had a pie chart of how I spent my waking hours before I had a baby. I don't know what the exact breakdown would be, but a significant chunk of the pie chart is work, like waking hours spent working. And then the rest is like cooking, eating, groceries, house tasks, socializing, personal time, etc. So here's what happened. We had a baby, and now half of my waking hours, half of the pie chart, goes to taking care of the baby. So everything that I used to have the whole pie chart for is being squeezed into half the pie chart. Everything I was doing before, all of it, I have half the amount of time pretty much. I mean, this is a rough estimation, but I pretty much have half the amount of time that I used to have to do all of it. And I can't afford to work half as much, for example. So some things, some of the rest of the stuff has got to give. And what's happening is the wrong things are giving. And it's because of the amount of time I'm spending on my screens with what precious remaining piece of the pie chart I have. Like in December, with half of the time that I used to have, I managed to conduct an epic, sweeping, comprehensive search for the perfect winter parka, conducted over several hours, spread over several weeks, but I didn't manage to journal or meditate every day. And I was left with that feeling that life is moving too fast and I can never take a breath and I never have any time to just sit still and stare out the window. My body hurts, I'm losing touch with myself, etc., etc. But hours and hours were being poured into this parka search, hours that I could have used to calm and recenter myself. So as I reallocate and redistribute my time to account for this enormous lifestyle shift, what I want is for my screen time to shrink down to make room for the other things that vie for what I would call my personal time, my personal time allocation. I want to take back the time that I spend every week browsing and decision-making and thinking about shopping. Ideally, in order to, the fantasy is that I then use that time meditating, journaling, writing, and, thinking about my next book. But really, it's just, I need that time to breathe air into my life so that I don't feel like everything is rushing past. Browsing online, shopping behaviors, even though I trick myself into thinking that it's a break, like it's a break from work, it's rest. It's not really restful. It just makes it feel, spending time that way just makes it feel like time is passing faster and like I didn't have enough hours in the day. It's not an actual rest for the mind. It's not rejuvenating. I want my life to be a life in which I am raising my child and doing my paid job, which is this online work, which I quite enjoy, and tending to my inner life, the life of the spirit, my life as a writer, the life of the mind, which is related to parenting and to the work that I do online. And, so without that third piece, everything else suffers. The stakes are high. And the thing is, that third piece is getting squeezed down to almost nothing because I have less time than I used to have, and the time that I do have is just getting sucked down the online rabbit hole. So for me, having a baby has intensified the battle for my time and thrown this issue into sharp relief. But I think it can easily be an issue for you, even if your pie chart isn't cut in half by childcare, because screen time is such a sinkhole and it's so addictive. And no matter what else you have going on in your life, it's so easy to pour all of your recreational time alone into the screen, day after day, week after week, year after year, and just never wake up from that and start tending to your inner life. And I think over time, that really impacts the quality of your presence with other people, and consequently affects your ability to spend meaningful time and build meaningful relationships with the people that you care about, with your friends and your family. Honestly, I see it happening all around me. I feel it happening in people that I know. And I intensely feel inside of myself the effort that it takes to keep that from happening. So I'm taking steps. And here's my thinking. I'm not out here, you already know if you've been around. I'm not out here about to say that I'm going to obliterate shopping from my life, especially not at this point in my journey. It just needs to be put in its place. Shopping is a habit that I greatly enjoy, and acquiring beautiful things is something that I love doing, that I support myself in doing. I think that it adds texture and joy to my life. And I'm so grateful to be able to afford to do that within reason at this point, but it needs to be put in its place, allocated the appropriate number of hours in the week instead of the outsized number of hours in the week that it's currently getting. So my plan is to only allow myself shopping behaviors on the weekends. I'm starting loosely, right? I'm sketching it out and I'm just going to see how it goes. So this includes browsing, research, etc. An example is clicking through from an Instagram ad to a website of a brand that I've never heard of and exploring to figure out what the brand is all about. That's a shopping behavior, and that is not allowed on a weekday for me, let alone buying stuff, right? It goes without saying that buying a thing is included in this, but the radical radical act. The thing that's different for me than anything that I've ever done is to disallow myself to window shop at all. So if I come across, for example, a brand that I want to learn about, or if I think of something that I need, like the parka, and I am tempted to do research to figure out which one I might decide to buy, I have to bookmark the website. I have to put the needed item on a list and push it all to the weekend. Now, when I did my no-buy year, I had to have really strict rules for myself that were totally unbreakable because my brain was so in the habit that I knew that my brain would fight me tooth and claw if I didn't hold fast. I think in this case, I can have a little bit less structure and I trust myself to tailor and retailor the project as I move through it. But I have built a couple of exceptions into the rules, these loose rules to begin with, because I think that this is how it will probably shake down in terms of what's logical for me. These are the exceptions. If I have to buy something for my child and it's time sensitive, then I will allow myself to do that on a weekday. But I'm going to try to be honest with myself about this. It's not a situation where any kind of child-related shopping can happen on a weekday. It's only if it's time sensitive. It's like, oh, he actually really needs this tomorrow. But if it can wait, if choosing it and buying it can wait until the coming weekend, then it'll wait. And the second exception is if I have to learn about something or do something for work and it, again, truly can't wait. So if I'm corresponding with a brand representative, considering something for review, etc., I'm going to have to ask myself if I'm engaging in a shopping behavior during the week, am I truly working? And if the answer to the question, am I truly working, is yes, then I'll ask myself, can this wait until the weekend? And if the answer is no, then I'm in the clear. And the same will be true for buying stuff for the kid. Is this truly necessary? Yes. Can it wait till the weekend? No. Then I'm in the clear. But again, I'm going to stay mindful and try not to let either of these exceptions become loopholes. It's in my best interest not to let them become loopholes. I don't want them to become loopholes. And I trust myself not to trick myself. I think I've gained enough self-control around shopping and I'm motivated enough to be able to do that. So that's the basic plan. And I think, again, I might learn more about what I actually want or need as I go, and then I might make changes as I go. But I think this is enough to be getting on with. It might end up being harder than I thought because I had this idea towards the end of last year and I haven't been able to start yet. I was like, oh, this is going to be my New Year's project, my New Year's resolution. You would think that I would have started on January 1st. But instead, every day I'm like, oh, I haven't made the video yet. I haven't really gotten around to it yet. When all it would take would be just starting, all it would take would be like, oh, is it a Tuesday? Never mind, close the window. But I've been like, hemming and hawing and just beating around the bush because I haven't announced it on YouTube yet. So that's my first sign that I'm headed in the right direction with this. It's something that I really need. So since I'm on camera, the official start day will be this Monday. This video might not even have gone up yet, but it's Monday the 15th. I'm filming this the Friday before. So today is theoretically, my last weekday before the project starts. I'm about to go through a weekend, and then Monday of next week, that'll be the beginning. Now, I think I need a little bit of strategy, and I did this when I started my no-buy year. I had some strategies in my pocket, things to do when the going gets rough, kind of. And I've been thinking a little bit about that, and this is the last thing I'm going to share with you. As I indicated, this kind of shopping often happens when I need a break from everything else, or if I'm procrastinating, which is, in a way, the same thing. I mean, they're related. It's a kind of shutdown mechanism, It's like, I just can't right now, and just default to this thing that is in so many ways so alluringly suited or seems suited to fulfill that need. Online shopping is in disguise as the ideal thing to do when you're having that feeling like I just can't right now and I need a break. So because I often find myself starting down the rabbit hole when I'm already in a moment for some reason of slight distress, I just know that in the moment when I go to open a window to start searching for something and then I stop myself because of this project, I'm not going to feel like turning around and meditating instead. Sometimes maybe I will, but a lot of the time that would just be too much to ask. Not only am I taking away the crutch that I used to have, but I'm also expecting myself to do something that in many cases asks quite a lot of the self instead. So I need strategies for what to do, because if I tell myself it's an either or, like I'm trying to replace this bad habit with all of these really good habits, and so when I take that away, I have to be doing one of these other things. I think that's a little bit of a recipe for failure, because there are going to be times when it just feels too hard. So that's where the strategies come in. My initial strategy is this. When I want to turn to browsing, my number one thing to default to will be to read the book that I'm currently reading on my Kindle, whatever that may be. And I am capable of spending a lot of time during the day reading. I'm capable of reading the day away. And I don't want all that's left on my pie chart for personal time to just get entirely eaten up by reading novels either. So it's not the only solution. It's not the long-term solution, but for the time being, right? When I take away the treat, I'm giving myself something that's a more sustainable but still treat thing to take its place to ease the transition. And then if not reading, then what I will do is nothing. This is like my new superpower that I developed over the course of last year as I got deeper and deeper into meditation. It's not meditating, not journaling, not planning, just nothing. Just sitting, often looking out the window and doing absolutely nothing. That is preferable for me on weekdays now, preferable to the damaging something that is spending my recreational time browsing online. And when I started doing nothing during the day in small chunks last year, it just opened everything up for me. It brought my heart back to life, my mind back to life, kind of brought writing back to life for me, because it's out of that nothingness that the evolution of the self arises. And it's from that nothingness that poetry comes, It's like you have to make space. So those are my strategies. When I stay my own hand from online shopping, I'll either read my Kindle or do nothing. My only goal right now is to make space in my life. I'm not expecting myself to switch straight from a bunch of online browsing to all of these other really great healthy habits and productive things. I just want to remove shopping from my weekdays and see and feel and experience the space that it leaves behind. And that's it. It's so interesting. It makes so much sense to me. It makes all the sense in the world to me. When I first hit on this, I was like, this is it. But it's so interesting how different it is from the other projects on which I've embarked that are related to this issue over the years. And that excites me too, that it's like coming at it from a different angle, exploring a different facet. And in doing so, and realizing that this is what I need, I'm also able to kind of see and appreciate how far I've come. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your interest. Let me know if you're doing a project. I know some of you are doing no buys. I've seen it in comments on other videos. No buys, low buys, anything along the lines of what I'm doing. I would love to know. But more than anything, don't forget to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.